Thank you very much for joining us today for the InterDyn BMI presentation of Microsoft Dynamics NAV 2016. We have started doing a product tour of sorts to cover generic functionality around Microsoft Dynamics NAV. Most of you are here today because you are evaluating Dynamics NAV as a possible choice for your organization as you move forward with the next ERP system. This particular presentation is going to be more generic in its coverage. We'll talk about licensing, we'll talk about the functionality you'll get with the product, and we'll certainly show you a demonstration of the solution as well. In upcoming webinars, we're going to be doing very specific functionality around the areas of manufacturing, project accounting or jobs, as well as service management. So please stay tuned for that, and we will be sure to cover even more functionality if you would like something specifically done with or for your organization. A little bit about myself. My name is AJ Ansari. I'm the Dynamics NAV Product Manager at InterDyn BMI. I've been working at InterDyn BMI since 2010 and with Dynamics NAV since 2007. By background, I'm a certified implementer and developer. But today I help prospective clients like yourselves who are evaluating a new ERP system by understanding your needs and your requirements and identifying whether a solution like Microsoft Dynamics NAV would be a fit for your organization. Let's quickly look at today's agenda. We're going to cover a lot of things in a very short period of time. So what I do want to impress upon you is we do provide demonstrations for our prospective clients at a much more relaxed pace, spanning 2 to 3 hours or longer if needed, where we can address each and every single requirement that you may have for your next system. Our goal today is to give you a high-level idea of how the system can work for you and to just kind of get this conversation going and see how we can help you answer some high-level questions that you may have about how do we deploy the system, what can it do for us, etc. So for about 10 minutes, I'll have a little bit of a PowerPoint presentation where we'll talk about the Microsoft Dynamics NAV solution. We'll also cover why you would want to choose InterDyn BMI as your Microsoft Dynamics NAV partner, because there's certainly a lot of vendors who sell and implement this very popular solution. Then we'll go to demonstrations. Our demonstrations today are going to be around your Dynamics NAV dashboard, understanding how it's so powerful and yet very easy to use and master. We'll cover financials and reporting tools that are going to be available to you with Dynamics NAV. We'll talk about some sales and customer relationship management functionality that we have within the product. We'll do a quick overview of inventory management and planning capabilities, and then round up with purchase order management. At the end of the call, the goal is to have about 10 to 15 minutes of Q&A time. Now, during this Q&A, excuse me, during this Q&A, if we're not able to get to your questions, we will certainly communicate with you by email, or you'll also see my email address in our website at the end of this. You're welcome to send me a follow-up email or two with all the questions I may not have been able to get to. So with that, let's get started. I do want to quickly just talk about what Dynamics NAV is. Most of us are here because we are looking for our next ERP system. Dynamics NAV is geared towards small and medium businesses, basically offering a lot more control over the different aspects of what you do today, from anything related to financials, from the sales, the purchasing, inventory management, the generic things that we'll talk about today, as well as manufacturing, professional services, project accounting, payroll management, and the list goes on and on. It's really pointed towards organizations that are probably at about $5 million in revenue to about $200 to $300 million in revenue. If that sounds like a wide enough range, it's because it's true. Dynamics NAV is very scalable. A lot of clients that will buy or acquire Dynamics NAV today will still be using it a decade or two later, because the solution is fully capable of working for enterprise-level organizations as well as small and medium businesses. And it's also priced in a manner that would be very affordable for different types of businesses. Whether you are a single site, a single legal entity implementation, or you're a multinational organization with needs spanning multi-currency, localization, which is essentially another way of saying regulatory requirements that you may have for each location or country that you operate in, or language requirements, so that with the reports that you print out as well as the screens that you see in Dynamics NAV are able to to cater to different languages. We're going to be able to do all of that for you. You're going to be able to scale the solution. So what you start off today could be a very small area of functionality, and eventually you can graduate to and grow to use more functionality within the system. And you will find that whether you're starting with 2 users or 200, we're going to be able to do that quite efficiently and effectively for you. I'm going to mute myself from time to time. I'm working with a bit of a dry cough, so I do apologize for that. Up here, just a little bit about Microsoft Dynamics Nav and how it fits into the larger picture of Microsoft's offerings. You may have heard the brand name Microsoft Dynamics. That itself represents various products, including Dynamics Nav, but also including Dynamics GP, which was previously known as Great Plains, and Dynamics AX, a more enterprise-level offering, which was formerly known as Xapta, and even Dynamics CRM, which is not an ERP solution, but a cutting-edge relationship management tool. Microsoft Dynamics Nav is really strong in that it is able to interact with various applications that Microsoft puts out, which I think a lot of us are used to from the Office, with the Office stack. So your Word, your Excel, your PowerPoint, Outlook, those types of investments, and excuse me, I meant OneNote, not PowerPoint, those types of products will interact very closely and seamlessly with Dynamics Nav. So your business applications and your productivity application investments are going to be able to get, you're going to be able to get maximum revenue and maximum efficiency out of those. In addition, from a platform perspective, Dynamics Nav is capable of being hosted on premises, in the cloud, co-located someplace, and it's going to be usable across a wide variety of devices. And I'll be hitting on that in a couple of different slides as well. So one of the things that Microsoft usually talks about when we're doing a differentiation for Dynamics Nav and you're trying to see what makes us unique, break it down into quick to implement, easy to use, and the power to support. So you're going to be able to get up and running very quickly. There are some very efficient and effective data migration tools. A lot of the interface and the screens that you'll be seeing will be very familiar to you if you've used Microsoft products such as Office in the last few years. The easy to use aspect is that you can take Dynamics Nav anywhere you go, whether you're at your office and sitting at your desk, or at home in the morning and drinking a cup of coffee before you head out to the office, or if you're on site with a customer and you need quick access to your database or to take an order. And then as you're growing your business, as you extend your business's reach across countries and across sites, you'll find that this is a truly global ERP solution capable of keeping pace with you. And in the new version, today we're looking at the version Dynamics Nav 2016. Microsoft has added some specific features that nicely breaks down to each one of these 3 categories. If you are using Dynamics CRM from Microsoft, you'll find that Dynamics Nav is capable of working natively with Dynamics CRM. It also works natively with Microsoft Azure, which is the Microsoft Cloud. There are some great enhancements around the way this database can be tailored or customized with a snap-on, snap-off type of approach to any changes to the database, and then the ability to effectively test the changes that are being made. There's a great universal app for Microsoft Dynamics Nav. Whether you're using Windows 10, Apple, Android devices, you're going to be able to access it across all your different operating systems. And then from a financial enhancements perspective, Microsoft has added some great functionality around bank management and reconciliation, positive pay. They've also added document management functionality so that you can OCR incoming documents, have that sent to a service, comes back with all the information that you need to create a purchase invoice with the click of a button, or a sales invoice with the click of a button. There's some great workflow capability as well. So once that OCR document is scanned and it's made into a purchase invoice, you can send it out to an approval and have approvals and trigger something else to happen in the system. The system is very capable of sending out electronic invoices, sending out PDF attachments and the sort. So you're going to find that the system is just so intuitive and easy to work with. Furthermore, some of you may have heard about Power BI, and that's a discussion all unto itself. It's a great Microsoft business intelligence tool that ranks very high on the Gartner Magic Quadrant. And today I'll show you a little bit of that, and that allows you to get some great analysis and insights that will help you make business decisions on how you can grow and work more effectively. So just a quick view at Dynamics Nav. You'll find that over 100,000 customers are using Dynamics Nav today, and I'm not talking 100,000 users, 100,000 business entities, customers like yourselves. And this is Microsoft's most implemented ERP system across the world. The version that we're looking at today is Dynamics Nav 2016, and as you look at the roadmap, what you will find is Microsoft has been releasing a new version year after year. Now, one thing to be mindful of is this is not necessarily a risk when it comes to keeping your software up to date. Microsoft's new versions of Dynamics Nav are very much like older versions. They're very stable, built upon that same stable code base, but adding a few new features each version. So you're not going to have to relearn. You're not going to have to make a large investment in upgrading your software. It's going to be quite intuitive to upgrade. Everything that you learned today for your current version of Dynamics Nav will continue to be usable in new versions. You'll just be getting a lot more functionality. And so we're expecting the next version of Dynamics Nav to come out in October of this year, and the version after that will likely come out in the October of the following year, and so on. So let's quickly take a look at how you can access Dynamics Nav. I've said this a couple of times now, but you're going to be able to do it across a variety of devices. And the beauty of it is you are going to have your same username and password across all 3 devices. And you're not going to be taking up more sessions just because you're signed on your phone and your tablet at the same time, or your tablet or your laptop at the same time. So whether you're using a Windows tablet, an Apple iPad, an Android tablet, or a phone from one of those operating systems, or a Windows laptop or a desktop, you're going to be able to access the same information, get it all the same ways, and be able to take orders, run reports, and do the things that you expect any ERP system to be able to perform. And the app for your tablet and your phone devices is free. So if you navigate today to the Microsoft Windows Store or the App Store or Google Play and type in Dynamics Nav, you'll actually see a downloadable app. Now, you won't be able to use it today because you don't have a demonstration environment to point it to, but that actually brings up a good point. If you are interested in trying out Dynamics Nav in a sandbox environment, we've actually got one created for our prospective clients like yourselves on Microsoft Azure, which is Microsoft's enterprise cloud. So all you need to do is let us know you're interested. We can set you up with a sandbox environment login and give you a quick 15-30 minute walkthrough of how you'll be able to test things on your own, and then you're ready to go. You'll be able to try it on a tablet as well as your computer or anywhere else that you'd like to. So within Dynamics Nav, you'll find that you have a Windows client, which is typically the one that's most broadly used by organizations across our install base. And this is great for people on the accounting side, people who are core ERP users who log in from their computers and are very stationary throughout the day. You're going to get a lot of the type of information that you expect on a Windows thick client. Most people who are mobile or maybe using non-Microsoft computers, if you're using a MacBook, etc., you can use the web client. It doesn't need any special plugins like Flash or Java. It's going to work in HTML5. So your favorite modern browser, whether it's Google Chrome, Safari, Firefox, Edge, you're going to be able to fire that up, and it's going to be usable with all the same information you get in the Windows client. It's also great for occasional use in disaster recovery. And then finally, we've got that tablet and the phone client for people who are up and about most of the time, need access to Dynamics Nav on the road, and it's touch optimized. So not only are you going to be able to see the same information, but the screens that you see are going to be with larger icons, things that you will be able to get to without a mouse and a keyboard. Let's talk about deployment choices. I've said this once before, but Dynamics Nav is flexible. Whether you need to deploy Dynamics Nav on-premise or the cloud, it's still the same product. The code base is the same. The licensing can be the same. We are able to, as your vendor, as your value-added reseller, able to provide you the same services. So on-premises, the traditional way, or on a cloud, whether it's a Microsoft Azure cloud or some other cloud services provider that you may want to work with, we're able to deploy it there. Excuse me, just had a quick double click on the PowerPoint. And when you're looking to acquire licensing, there are a couple ways you can go about it. You can get perpetual licensing, which essentially is buying the software outright for the number of licenses you need, or you can subscribe to it. So if you want to start small with a few licenses worth of subscription, you could do that and still put it on premises. Or you can buy the licenses and put it on the cloud. So it works in any combination or permutation that you can think of. You're certainly not limited to working with it one way or another. So as you can see over here, you have all the choices in the world when it comes to what type of client you're going to use, what type of deployment option you're going to use. You're not restricted to use one or a particular combination. Let's briefly talk about licensing, and from there we're going to move on to why InterDyn BMI. Dynamics Nav is licensed with a starter pack and an extended pack. So Microsoft has created this very simple on a napkin type of approach. If there's functionality created for Dynamics Nav by Microsoft, it will fall within one of these two. So your starter pack is also going to include 3 full concurrent user licenses, which means 3 full users who can be in the system at any time. That also means you can create 10 named users, but only 3 people can be logged in. You can purchase additional users, full or limited. A full user can do anything in the system. A limited user has full read capability but limited write capability. And for example, creating timesheet entries, approving something that's been sent out to approvals, creating a quote, doing shipping or receiving, creating a contact, etc. They can do all of that as a limited user. The extended pack then adds all the functionality that is not available at the starter pack level. So if I just move on to the next slide, I'm going to, in the interest of time, move past this, and you will have access to the slide deck if you would like to see it after the event. But instead of making you read this, I'm going to go to a visual presentation of what the starter pack and the extended pack will bring you. The starter pack is all about financial management, distribution, and project accounting. The extended pack will add manufacturing, warehousing, those types of supply chain functionality, as well as professional services and field service management. Here is a list of all the functionality that's available. So we're not going to read through it, but as you look through this at a glance, you will see if you can think of fixed assets, we have it. If you're talking about relationship management, CRM, we've got 2 ways of going about it. We can tie to your Microsoft Dynamics CRM, which is a standalone system, or Dynamics Nav also has its own relationship management system that's available right with the starter pack. Project accounting, Dynamics Nav has it. If you want to configure and create your own functionality, we're able to do that. Intercompany management and consolidation, we're able to do that with the system. We're also able to do things like multi-company setups. We're able to do things like warehouse management with bins and rules around how those bins are managed. So as you start using the system, what you'll find is you could have a very simple workflow, or you can have a very complex workflow using a wide variety of features that are available to us in the standard, in the starter, and the extended pack. For manufacturing, discrete manufacturers, we've got great functionality that allows us to keep very flexible bills of materials and routings, allows us to schedule and plan both material demand as well as the production orders, and then track all the costs. So we're getting an accurate accounting of every penny that's been spent, direct and indirect. From an implementation standpoint, I do want to kind of impress upon you that Dynamics Nav is great to get started with your data in with very limited effort. There's a tool set within the product called Rapid Start. Rapid Start allows us to use Excel-based templates that you can create within Dynamics Nav, or we can help you create. Use those templates to fill data from your current system. Bring them in. There's a wizard-based process around it. Once you've brought in that data, it can validate for any inaccuracies, you correct those, and you're on your merry way. Likewise, if you want to configure all the functional areas of the system, instead of doing it screen by screen, you can use Rapid Start to export an Excel file with all the major configuration options that you would need to populate. Import that and it would get you started. This can significantly reduce that amount of time to go live. Also, integration-wise, Dynamics Nav is a product that is very capable of getting data in and out from anything as simple as a text file. My apologies for having this in gray. Text files, XML files, an Excel-based file, or through modern web services like OData, SOAP, and using .NET code as well. Also, we're able to push data into Microsoft Office applications like Word and Excel and take data back from Excel into Dynamics Nav. In addition, Dynamics Nav has a robust certified add-on channel. So there's a group of over 200 to 300 independent solution vendors who make certified solutions for Dynamics Nav, covering areas like PLM, integration with CAD and CAM, product configuration or parametric configuration, e-commerce and customer and vendor portal functionality, visual scheduling and advanced planning for manufacturing, shop floor barcoding, and PNC, basically manufacturing execution systems that give you visibility of what's going on from end to end, quality control, warehousing and 3PL, transportation and route planning. And this is just a list of some of the functionality that's available. Things I haven't written here like expense management and credit card integration, and the list is so long. So if you have a particular need, odds are we're going to be able to meet that with Dynamics Nav with a solution that's been around and is proven. I promise not to take a lot of time, but I do want to touch base on InterDyn BMI and why you should choose us and why you'd want to work with us. So our mission is to enhance the life of employees and customers by working together to provide you quality business solutions and to help make your life easier. Currently, we are a team of 167 team members. We have offices in 22 locations from coast to coast. So most major cities and most states that you can think of, we've probably got offices in. We're headquartered in Minneapolis. I'm based out of the Houston, Texas office. We've got folks in LA, in Fargo, in Miami, in Orlando, up in the Northeast, all over the place. We've been in business for 30 years now, or I think we're about to hit 31 with it being 2016. We have 2,600 active clients, and we sell not just Dynamics Nav, we sell Dynamics Nav, Dynamics GP, Dynamics AX, as well as a couple of other ERP solutions and Dynamics CRM. The reason I say this is if we start a discovery process and find out that Dynamics Nav is not the right product for you, and it sometimes is the case, then we are able to offer you a broad range of solutions. So we won't be trying to fit a round peg into a square hole, or a square peg into a round hole, as one of my account executives loves to say. So we'll make sure that we're providing you the right solution and not just the only solution that we have. We're a gold-certified ERP and CRM partner with Microsoft, and what that means is we've established and continue to demonstrate competency in the solutions that we sell. We have a 5-point performance promise that our CEO absolutely loves to instill in us and loves to tell our customers about and strongly believes in. We sell industry-leading products, and we offer a breadth and depth of experience with the professional services resources that we have. In terms of implementation, we follow proven methodology and processes like Microsoft's SureStep implementation methodology. We offer first-class support and services so that once you've gone live, we are able to continue providing value to you as your partner, and we're going to kind of reduce the headaches that you may otherwise have with a solution that you're using day-to-day for business-critical needs. And our goal is to develop a lifetime relationship with you. We're not in this to just implement and move on. We would love to be your partner for a very long time. I think our CEO, John Hendrickson, sometimes talks about we want to be like your accountant or your attorney. You have a long-established relationship with them. Sometimes you may not call them for a very long time because you're sailing perfectly well. But when you need us, we're going to be there for you. We're a highly awarded organization. We have received a lot of awards from Microsoft and recognition from organizations like Inc. and offer a lot of customer benefits. So if you become a client of InterDyn BMI, you'll have evaluation meetings with your account executive and account managers. We have events like a customer summit that allows you to get to other peers, classroom training options, and a lot more. I'm going to slide through a couple of slides and just talk about award-winning support, which is 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. every day, Pacific time. You're going to be able to get to, or sorry, Central time, you're going to be able to get to somebody within our support team to answer any needs that you have. We provide a broad range of services from implementation and training to business process consulting, upgrades, and managed services in IT as well. So with that, what I'm going to do is take a very short poll and we'll get started with some demonstration. And then I'll come back and I'll talk about a couple of other things after I've done some of the demonstrations that we have. So what I'd like to know, you should see this on your screen in a second, is what solution are you using today? A lot of our prospective clients come off of entry-level solutions like QuickBooks and Peachtree, but I will tell you that I've had to implement Dynamics Nav even for customers who are coming from larger solutions like Oracle. And in that specific case, it was because a company that was owned by a larger organization spun off on their own, and then they needed an ERP system that was both affordable and powerful. So I'll give you another 15 seconds, and then we'll close the poll. 5. Perfect. Thank you. So as I thought, almost half of the people are using QuickBooks today, and that's actually not surprising at all. But then there are just as many people who are coming from other on-premise systems. We do frequently find people using legacy systems that are supported by 1 or 2 people, or a green screen system that's just been around for so long and they haven't been able to upgrade because of deficiencies in the infrastructure. And we're just as able to get you up and running on a modern system. And I think another quick poll that I wanted to bring up, I'm going to stop sharing that with you, is how you intend to use the new system. I find it very interesting. I remember when I started asking this question about 6 years ago, almost exclusively the answer would be on-premise. But we increasingly find that people are just as willing to implement this in the cloud, because we now understand how secure it is, and we also understand that we continue to maintain ownership of our data. And it's accessible no matter where we are. It's great when we have a large organization and not just something in one particular location. So most everybody has voted, so I'll give you another 5 seconds, and then I'll close this poll as well. All right, I'm closing this poll. So here I've been pleasantly surprised. 63% of the crowd here wants to use Dynamics Nav in the cloud. So that's fantastic. I think one of the things that I'll do then when I'm showing the product tour, which is great, I usually try to make up my mind as I'm doing the demonstration. How am I going to present Dynamics Nav? I have so many ways of doing it. I can use a Windows client, I can use a web browser. Given that most people want to use it in the cloud, you may also be using a wide variety of devices. So my presentation to you today will be in a modern web browser. We're going to use the web client for Dynamics Nav, and you'll see how well it works. And just so you know as well, that my environment's actually connected to the cloud. My server for Dynamics Nav that I'll be doing the demonstration off of is on Microsoft Azure, and we are going to be able to see as I do this demonstration how effectively it will work for us. So let's go ahead and hide this, and I'm going to bring up my Dynamics Nav screen up here. Since it's been sitting for a little while, it went ahead and it kind of locked me out, and we'll log back in. Now, one of the beautiful things about Dynamics Nav is, depending on how you intend to use the system, and by this I mean your role in the organization, you're going to be able to see an entirely different presentation of the solution. So here I'm logged in as the owner of a small business. So I'm doing a wide variety of chores. I've got folks, I've got ongoing sales invoice visibility. I've got visibility into overdue purchase invoice amounts, an entire list of key performance indicators that I can toggle through. So you can go from chart to chart and look at my cash flow, or look at my income and expense. And as I look through any of these, I hover over and I get information, and I can click on it, and it would then take me down to my designated report for additional drill down capability and filtering. Now, if I was doing something entirely different in the organization, I would actually be able to very quickly see a view that is going to be catered towards what I do for a living. If I'm in the accounts receivable department, if I'm on the manufacturing side, if I'm an order processor, etc. So if we just quickly log in, I'm going to come over here. I've got my little launch pad here where I can launch another screen of Dynamics Nav. I'm going to log in as a different user. And this user, if I recall correctly, is set up to be an order processor in the system. So when the order processor logs in, you're going to see functionality and the dashboards are completely tailored towards this user's quotes, orders that he or she is responsible for, what's shipped or delayed, metrics like average days delayed, etc. Now, what I want to also kind of mention to you is, notice you've got these visual cues. So as you're looking at anything on your dashboard when you first log in, you're going to be able to see very quickly if this is a metric that you need to act upon immediately, or is this business as usual. Things that are marked in green, it's in an acceptable range or below an acceptable threshold. Things that are marked yellow, they're trending towards getting out of control. And things like average days delayed, we have now exceeded what is considered an acceptable number of days that orders can be delayed. You can set these up from the system simply by going to my search here, and I could go and type in queue setup, and you'll find that most of the things that you're looking for the system to do in the system are all available with the touch of a search or with quick find in your home menus. Now, the entire layout of your Dynamics Nav environment is flexible. So when you're using Dynamics Nav, if you want to change the menus that are available, the columns that are available, the charts that are visible, you're going to be able to tailor all of those. I also want to contrast what you're seeing here with what you would have seen if you were using Dynamics Nav in a Windows client. Just so you get an idea. Same client, very same environment, this just happens to be a different database, different demonstration database I'm connected to. But over here, you'll see that the presentation and the content is pretty much the same. So if you start using one and then you move on to using the web client, it's not going to require relearning. It's not very different at all. It's very consistent in the design language. Let's talk a little bit about navigation. As you're looking to get from one area of the system to another, you're going to be able to find things that you need either in your home menu, because your administrator, when configuring your role center, was able to provide everything that you need right on your home screens. You're also going to be able to find key reports that you're expected to run within your role under reports. And if you do need to perform some actions on the screens that you're on, this is a context-based ribbon. So on my home screen, I've got some actions to quickly create a quote or an invoice. I don't need to go very far, right? From my home screen, I can start creating those. And once I am on a sales order, so let's go ahead and maybe look at ready to ship sales orders. I've got context-based ribbon action items. So now these are all actions that I can perform for the sales order. If I want to do some order promising, make sure I've got the right availability of inventory, I can do that here, etc. Look too, as I see on the right-hand side, I've got some fact box. The fact boxes will show me critical information pertaining to this order as well as the customer. How many orders do I have outstanding for this client? How much of this inventory item that's highlighted do I have in stock, etc. Coming back to my home screen, if I want to go ahead and find information about something in Dynamics Nav that I'm not seeing on my home screens right here, I've got a search menu. So using search, I can navigate very quickly to where I need to go. So finding things like items, a list of items, I click here and the system will pull up my item list. Once I'm looking at my item list, if I then want to filter on a particular product, click on the search menu again, type in chair, and the system will find everything that matches this particular description. And I didn't have to tell it what column I was searching in. The system's very capable of figuring out exactly what I want to do. I also have the ability to filter if I need to. So not only can I search on something, if I need to filter on a particular column or set of columns, I would just click on the menu and say filter and look for whatever thing I might be looking for. I actually wanted to quickly pull up a list of everything that was assembled, kitted items. So I click on filter and say show me everything that has an assembly bill of material associated with it. So assemblies or kitting within Dynamics Nav is an area of light manufacturing, if you will. So just like that, I can create one or more filters and the system will let me go ahead and manage those. These filters can also be saved. So if I actually want to be able to use these for future, I can save these and then I can call these and use these to build charts and graphs, etc. Back on my home screen, if I'm looking for a particular type of document and I'm not quite sure where to find it. I've got a customer calling upon me asking for information about a particular invoice, or if I need to find something by a vendor invoice number or customer PO number. Right on my home screen, I can find a navigate menu and take care of all of that. But if I don't happen to be on my home screen, I just go to my search menu and type navigate. Navigate is a Dynamics Nav function that is very powerful, and it allows me to find things using a variety of filters. I can find something just by a document number, which means type in my invoice number, or I can find something by a date. I can find something by a customer or a vendor or a bank account with your PO number or invoice number if they have that information. Or if I serialize or lot track my inventory, I can find things by a serial number reference or a lot number reference. So all of those types of things are available to me right within my navigate function. So as I look through my system and I'm working today, and one of my customers, if they just call me and ask me for information about a particular invoice. So let's say they want to find out information about a sales invoice that I sent them, and they would like to know if it's been paid, or they'd like another copy of that invoice. It's very simple. All I need to do is just ask them to provide me the invoice number. So invoice number 103008, let's say that's what they need us to find. So what I would do is in my navigate screen, I would, coming back here to navigate, I would type in 103008, find, and the system will find all entries matching this invoice number. If I want to see the sales invoice, I click on it, and now I'm looking at the invoice. I can see the client that this was created for. I can see the product that I had sold. I can also find any additional information that I want about this. This particular invoice was actually created in euros, so I can see that as well. Now, if I want to send them another copy of this particular receipt, I would be able to click on send or email, depending on what I want to do. If I've already pre-configured the customer to receive documents a certain way by invoice or some other electronic, by PDF or some other electronic format like XML, I just click on send and the system will use the default preference. If I need to print as a PDF, I could do that. Or if I intend to email, I click on email and it will generate an email with a PDF attachment that I can send out to the customer. So it's very simple for us to find things. Now, while we're here, if we need to see if the customer has paid it or not, I click on Customer Ledger Entries. And this will show me that this particular invoice, as I scroll to the right, is open, which means they haven't paid. And if I want to see how much they still owe me, I can see that amount right over here. So all that information will be very easily visible to us. So finding documents, being able to send a document, all of those are going to be very simple with Microsoft Dynamics NAV. What I'm going to do for the next couple of things in the demonstration is use the Windows client, just so you have a sense for how that would work as well. So here I am in my Windows environment. I've got my charts and my graphs, etc. on my home screen. If I want to be able to run, say, a couple of reports and have them ready for use when I come in every morning or every Monday, I've got a report inbox. This is available across all clients as well. I just like to demonstrate different things in different environments. So here I've got my report inbox where I can configure any report to run at predefined times and deliver in a predefined method. So a report like top 10 customers, I could schedule it to run every day of the week of my working days at 3 p.m. and have it outputted to a PDF. And if I want to have certain filters set, I can predefine those as well. So the system will always remember to adhere to those filters. And then it will deliver them right to my home screen where I can double-click and view my reports. Very simple. When you're using approval management and notifications functionality in Dynamics NAV, instead of email, you can look to your home screen right here to get information about approvals that you need to work on, or maybe even just act upon something that your teammates need you to do. So I log in and I see that one of my teammates wants me to send a particular customer a signed agreement, or remind the customer to send us their copy of the signed agreement. Hovering over it, I see this is regarding Spotsmeyer's Furnishings. So I double-click here, and it's going to open up my customer card. So it's just really as simple as that. I'm going to be able to open my customer card, and something's open on my other screen. And as I'm looking at my customer screen here, I can find, let me just expand out my communications information. Unfortunately for this customer, I did not have an email address, a phone number, so I can't call them, but I could always send them an email. And when they send me their document, I can drag and drop that document or an email right here on the customer card. And whether I'm on a phone later or a web client or my Windows client, I'm going to be able to access these attached documents and links. If I'm working with things like a list of customers, if I wanted to create a quick chart, easy to do as well. We can take a look at our customers, say, let's just find all for customers that have a value, have a balance to us. So balance due greater than 0. Now this is my short list of customers. Go to show as chart, and I can say show me balance due, but this time instead of showing by customer, I could say let's just find all customers pivoted by salesperson. So here I can see in just a quick second. It's generating that view for me. It's going to get me a full view of all customers by their salesperson code and the balance that they owe us. So Peter Sato's customers owe us $947,000, James's customers owe us $121,000, etc. And then I can use this with a couple more clicks on my dashboard to automatically refresh. Or I can save this as an image and use this in a report that's external to my system. So here I've got an example of an outstanding receivables chart that I created from a list. So that gives you a general idea of how easy the system is to navigate and the various types of dashboards that are available to you. Let's move on to the next part. And the next part of our presentation will focus a little bit around financial management and reporting. Within Dynamics NAV, one of the things that I find very powerful, and I think most of my clients will also agree, is the use of dimensions. You may be coming from a system today that has everything with your chart of accounts, with an account number, hyphen, a segment, hyphen, another segment. Maybe a department is one segment, project codes are another segment, etc. While that does give you the ability to get your reports or your P&Ls by the different segments, one of the things that does happen as a result of it is a very large chart of accounts is going to be something you'll have to be maintaining all the time. If you add a new department, you'll need to create an entire set of accounts. So your chart of accounts is going to keep growing exponentially. As a result of that, you're going to find some inefficiencies when you need to organize, maintain, or update the accounts. What Dynamics NAV has done is simplified that process by keeping your chart of accounts very trim and proper. So all you're going to see is your accounts or your natural account numbers. You do have the ability to group these accounts with totaling account numbers, so logical account numbers that will allow me to quickly find my liquid assets position or quickly see how much I have in assets, etc. If I expand this and I scroll to the left or the right, you can see how much I have bank checking balance, but all my liquid assets, if I wanted to see that position, I can also see how much I have in liquid assets total, and then I can click on it and see all the detail that makes up those numbers. When I do need to work with segments, I go to my dimension screen. So just like I did in my web client, here in my Windows client, I can click on dimensions. And here I can have up to 8 unique dimensions or segments. And each dimension or segment can then have an unlimited number of dimension values. So things like a department or a project that you might have in your chart of accounts today, they're set up as dimensions. Go down underneath here and you'll find an unlimited number of dimension values that you can create. I just happen to have 3 here in my example. You can also create hierarchies, as you will see in some of my dimensions. If I look under area, I could have areas grouped and then subgrouped at different levels. So when I run my P&L or I do analysis, I have the ability to report at the lowest level or roll things up into a top level or a top level dimension value. These become very helpful when we're running our financial reports. Dynamics NAV has a few different ways that you can run financial reports. One way is right within the system, and it's through the module called Account Schedules. So these are some example account schedules that I have. If I want to run a P&L, basically this was created as a grouping of various types of accounts. You saw in my chart of accounts the accounts that were marked in bold. Those are my summary or my grouping accounts. So I'm referencing those instead of finding every single GL account that I had for project revenue and every single one I had for resource revenue and material revenue, etc. And then I could create some other formulas. I can also create a variety of column setups, so period to date and year to date, or actuals versus budgets, or a list of all the periods, etc. When I want to run any of my reports, I simply click on Overview by highlighting on my report. And this will bring an interactive view of my financial report. So this particular interactive view allows me to see my P&L with my period to date, year to date, and a percentage comparison. And what I will be able to see is that it's filtered by month and date filters. If I want to change this out to be an entire year's worth of data or change the date filter, I can do that here. If I want to apply a department filter or project filter, I can do that as well. Just click on sales and only see data for sales. And then if I want to drill down, I can also click on any of these fields and then click on drill down, and it will take me down to more information. I can click more and more. As I'm talking about this, I want you to keep in mind that Dynamics Nav allows you to drill down from a transaction like an invoice all the way down to general ledger entries, or something from a financial report down to a general ledger entry, and then find the proper invoice associated with it and open it in a couple of clicks. So there's end-to-end drill down capability within the system. In addition to doing financial reporting within the system, we've got the ability to run our financial reports through Microsoft Excel. So Microsoft Excel is very well integrated with Dynamics Nav, and what you'll find is we've got a variety of ways that we can get data in and out from Nav to Excel. You can use OData and SOAP if you're somebody who's very experienced with consuming data, but then Microsoft also ships out a very effective tool called JetExpress. JetExpress allows us to use a wizard to get financial data into Excel and then allows us to refresh as we need. So when you're using Dynamics Nav, you'll likely have the Jet bar installed as well. This report took me about 30 minutes to create, and most of that time was actually in the visual aspects of the report that I wanted to create, the design, etc. Well, what I have here is my account numbers. These columns are pulling data from Dynamics Nav dynamically every time I refresh and change my dates. I've got some data here for my current period, my year to date, and then I took my department dimension and said, we'll also expand everything by it or break them down by the different departments. When you're creating this chart, it's really as simple as using my report wizard, and I tell the system what is included in each field. And using that wizard, I'm going to be able to say that this cell contains a net change for between this period and this period for this GL account. Once I've done that, I can copy and paste these values all the way down in Excel. Now, in the interest of time, I'm not actually doing it, but if we're interested in learning more about it, we can certainly arrange a longer demonstration for you to show you how simple it is to create some of these. Anytime we need to refresh this report, we'd simply change the dates around here and click the refresh button. And that would then allow us to view the latest and greatest information for these particular periods. You can lock out all the cells so the user is only capable of changing the data in these fields, like the company code or the periods. And as a result of doing that, you can then make sure that this data is always going to be accurate, and you can share this with other people who are users of Dynamics Nav or people who are not. If you're a Dynamics Nav user and you have the JetExpress toolbar installed, you can take a look at some drill down information as well, and you can refresh the report yourself. So your administrator sends you an updated report with some changes. You can go ahead and change your dates, refresh, drill down, and see, for example, how I got to $827,000 of sales of raw material. And right within Excel, it's going to show me the two entries that brought us to this amount. If I'm not a Dynamics Nav user, then I would be able to view this as a static spreadsheet. So I won't be able to refresh it, but periodically I can receive updates from my administrator. There are other tools as well that you can use, such as a table builder or query tool, And the Jet Express functionality includes an entire library of example reports above and beyond this for financials, for sales, operations, etc. So what we found is our customers love creating queries and using the power of Microsoft Excel to use your Power Pivot, your visuals, your filters, etc., and then do all the things that you're accustomed to doing, but with data pulling directly from your ERP system. Additionally, Microsoft has about 300 reports in various functional areas of Dynamics Nav. So if you are looking for a report in a particular area, you're in your Role Center screen, and you are interested in finding reports for, say, H accounts receivables. You can go to search and you can type it in. Just start typing in aged and it will show you all the reports. And you can also see there's a little icon. I'm not sure how clear it is through the GoToMeeting, but this shows us that this is a report icon. So as I look through something, I can very quickly identify whether the result is a list or a report or a task or a setup, etc. Additionally, there's an entire sitemap within Dynamics Nav. So if I'm looking at the Dynamics Nav departments, which is my sitemap, I can find any type of report based on the functional area that it's related to. So sales and marketing reports, and this will show me all my sales and marketing reports. Note too that when I'm looking at a particular screen in Dynamics Nav, like my customers or sales orders or vendors, we left this at the chart view last time, so I'm just going to go back to the list view. Right in my customers list, I can click on reports in my ribbon. So context-based reports specific to the list view that I'm at, that's also present in the system. So your reports are very easy to find. You're going to be able to change these as well if you need to. So you can, if you're good with Visual Studio report design, you can use that. If you're not, there is also a Word-based report modification tool. So you can take a report and change its layout using a Microsoft Word-based editor. Again, our time does not permit us to really get into details of that today, but we're happy to demonstrate that to you and talk about this in as much detail as you need. Finally, let's talk about a new way of getting reporting and analysis in Dynamics, or with Dynamics Nav, and that is Microsoft Power BI. As I said before, it's a topic unto itself, and we do some great webinars and presentations about Power BI at different levels for our customers and prospects. As a matter of fact, if you go to our blog, which is www.letstalknav.com, if our time permits, I'll bring that up before our presentation is over today, you'll find a recorded presentation on Power BI. But right over here, I'm going to show you a quick live tour. When I sign into Power BI, and by the way, notice I'm not going to have to key in my credentials, and that's because with my Microsoft Dynamics Nav and Azure deployment, I'm using my Office 365 credentials. So they're single sign-on capability. I log into Dynamics Nav in the morning. I'm going to be able to keep that login the same for all the things that I do, whether I'm logging into Word, Excel, Outlook, Power BI, and SharePoint. This entire dashboard was created automatically without any customization or work by me. All I had to do was go to the Microsoft Dynamics Nav Power BI services, click on Dynamics Nav, and then connect to my server with my credentials. As soon as I did that, within I think about 2 to 3 minutes, it's able to whip up an entire dashboard that has all these different components. These dashboard components can be further changed, and you can drill down and share these components with other users in your organization. So sales orders open, or sales orders by salesperson, I click on that dashboard component and it takes me to the related reports. While I'm here, I can see other reports as well, like my finance reports, item sales by customer, quickly establish all the opportunities that are available to us right now in our pipeline. And note too that if you're looking at any of these, you can filter on them very quickly and effortlessly. What's nice about Power BI is it can also tie into other applications you use today. If you're using MailChimp, Google Analytics, if you're currently on QuickBooks and want to try it out, or if you're using QuickBooks Online, you can use that as well. And so these content packs are going to give you some great value right out of the box. And if you want to create more reports or dashboards in Power BI, you do not need to be a reporting expert. Just click on the data sets. Notice right over here you'll have the ability to select data from various fields and tables that have already been exposed for you. decide on the visualization you're going to use, the filters you're going to use, and you'll be up and running with report creation in no time at all. Again, if this is something that interests you, just reach out to us and we'll be happy to talk about this in greater detail for you. So a great way to get data out and view reports and dashboard components. Power BI, to note that it's available across devices. So not only are you able to use it in a web browser, you can download it on your iPhone or your iPad or your Android phone or your Android tablet and be able to access this data from anywhere. You can create, share, and be able to get all the value from Dynamics Nav that you need to on the road. With that, I'm going to move off of the financial and the reporting discussion to a little bit around sales and customer relationship management. With Dynamics Nav, let's actually maybe go back to our web client since I was already logged in. I think I may have accidentally closed it. Yeah, I'm going to log back in as my sales order processor. For my safety, it will time me out. Now, you are able to define a longer timeout if you don't want to be clocked out every 10 seconds, every 15 minutes or so. So if you do want to remain logged in at all times, you can do that. Otherwise, it'll prompt you for a password. Now, while I'm here within the system and I'm looking at my pipeline, maybe let's start over there a little bit. Dynamics Nav has a couple of ways that you can manage your pipeline. If you're using a solution like Dynamics CRM, I can connect my Dynamics Nav to CRM. Just type in CRM and you'll see I have the ability to create a connection, and then I'm able to synchronize things like my accounts. So my leads, my accounts can be synchronized. My opportunities can be synchronized from CRM into Nav. I can synchronize my list of quotes, my products, my price groups, etc., and my salespeople. From one system, I can see information about the other system and vice versa. Now, when I create a quote in CRM and I convert that quote to an order in CRM, that order can flow into Dynamics Nav, and as the order is invoiced, that data will go to Dynamics CRM and tell it that the order has been fulfilled and it's been invoiced. If you're not using a standalone CRM system, we have our built-in relationship management capability that you can use. So anything from opportunity management, a lead tracking, interaction tracking, all of those are fully doable right within the system here. So if I go to my list of opportunities, I can see all the different opportunities and the statuses that they exist today. And if I look at one of my in-progress opportunities here, I can see who the customer is. I can see who the contact that I'm working with is, and I have these lines. So each line represents a sales cycle stage. So without turning this into a training session, Dynamics Nav has the ability to have different types of sales cycles, and each sales cycle can have different stages. So if you're working with an opportunity that is smaller in size and will have fewer steps, you can select the appropriate sales cycle and you'll only have 2 or 3 stages to go through. Establishing contact and perhaps creating a quote, and then determining whether or not they're going to move forward. If it's a longer opportunity with a longer sales cycle, then you may have different steps, and each step may have certain requirements. You may require them to enter what the value of the opportunity is, plus their closing timeline, plus approvals, etc., and have some to-dos and meetings that are scheduled and need to be completed. And all of this process is managed through a wizard. So I can update my opportunity, I can view my sales quote at any point in time, assign the quote if I've created one already to this particular opportunity. I can also do some marketing and campaign management within the system. So if I have to send emails out of Dynamics Nav to a large group of customers that are tailored by an industry focus or a type of role a particular individual plays in the organization, I'm able to do that as well. Moving from there, let's focus a little bit on the sales order transactions and sales order management. I can start with a quote and then go to an order, or I can start directly from an order. If you're only providing professional services and don't have tangible goods, then you can start off at an invoice. So you don't necessarily have any goods to sell, you're not worried about the shipping of things. But no matter what you're looking to do, these new buttons are right up here on your screen. So let's go ahead and quickly create a new sales quote. Push of a button, I can identify my customer. Now, some people like to find customers by their name. Some people like to find it by the number. You're able to do it any way you see fit. So the system's quite good at it. It will also do a quick credit limit check and tells me that there's an overdue balance, and if I want, I can look at details. So the system can tell you by checking the credit limit if somebody has needs a credit override, or if your balance has exceeded your payment due dates, then it will tell you that as well. Anything that I see in blue, I can actually click and drill down on. So if I want to see how much they're overdue by in greater detail, I could have clicked that and seen that information. In the interest of time, I'm going to hit yes and proceed. It'll capture all the information that's necessary from the customer card. As I scroll down over here, I can enter information about a campaign that this might be tied to, or an opportunity this might be tied to. If my customer has a requested delivery date, I can also include that. Now, what I did is, if I'm not sure what the requested delivery date does, I can click on that. So I clicked a little bit faster than I spoke. So I clicked on the requested delivery date field. Dynamics Nav will open up the documentation telling you exactly what this field is about. And while you're here, you can find an entire library of things around sales processes. So if you want to learn how to process sales in Dynamics Nav, look no further than here. And Microsoft has got some great e-learning videos in the customer portal that you get access to with your purchase of Nav. Getting back on the screen over here, let's talk about a few things like the shipping address. So if my customer has a very specific address that they need this shipped to, I can override this. If we already maintain a library of ship to addresses, I can select this from a drop-down or create a new one. I'll say this needs to go to your Park Road address. I can select things such as which warehouse location I want to ship things from, what shipping method I'm going to use, what shipping service and what shipping agent and service I'm going to use, etc. Anything around invoicing, that will automatically be inherited from the customer, but I can obviously update anything that I need to. And if they're a foreign trade customer, I can see what currency they interact in. There are other things here that are hidden that we can make available. For example, prepayments. If you require a deposit from a customer, for the entire amount of the order, or 50% before it can begin processing, all of that can also be managed right over here. And if you had that functionality set up, you would be seeing those tabs. I'm just going to go ahead and select a particular item that we need to ship. So I'm going to go ahead and type in chair like I did last time and select my sole chair. By default, it will pick the warehouse location that was defaulted for the order, but I can always override that, type in the desired quantity. And as I do that, the system's now going to allow me to see availability at this particular location and what other gross requirements may be there on this particular item. I scroll down a little bit further to the right, and if I have things to add, I can add any other fields. So as I scroll, you can see it dynamically scrolls, and it just allows me to see the information I need. I can, of course, hide and show columns. So if I've got too many columns here that you don't need, or too many fields here, you can very easily hide and show those. So you can custom or personalize Dynamics Nav to your requirements. Having created this, I can go and very easily send this out by email to my vendor, to my customer, excuse me. So it's already created a PDF and it's attached that. If I want to view that PDF, let's just go ahead and open it up. A sample quote. This could obviously be tailored in Microsoft Word or Visual Studio to show your logo, etc., or to have a completely different visual layout. I can add any message that I need to and hit OK, and it will send it off to the customer. Now, once we have done this, if we're going through a negotiation phase in Dynamics Nav, you have the ability to create a variety of archived versions of this. So time will not permit me to go through that in detail, but I just wanted to point that out. So you can have 2 or 3 versions of a quote, and as you go through, it will show you how many archive versions you have, and you can roll back and forth. So your negotiation process with the customer is fully accounted for, and the history will always be visible to you. At any point in time when I'm ready to make this into an order, I can go ahead and convert this particular sales quote into a sales order. There's a Make Order button right over here. Now, if you were at a trade show and you met a potential client or a potential customer and you didn't yet make them a customer record, you could have still created a quote against a lead. And at any point in time, you could then create the customer from the quote as well as make the order. So I'm going to click and convert this quote to an order. It's reminding me about the overdue balance, and we'll say that's fine. Now what it will also do when it creates my orders, now during using workflow, I could have had that sales order open up immediately after it was created. Sometimes it doesn't open these things by default because the person creating the quote and the person processing the order may be different individuals. So I'm going to go to my my sales quote, my sales order, excuse me. I did not stop to look at the date, but this is it. So yeah. So this particular sales order is now created, and at this point in time, if my account executive wants to make sure, my salesperson wants to make sure that I do indeed have sufficient stock, or if I did not have sufficient stock, if I wanted to see how quickly I can get it, I'd be able to look at all of that. Now, what I can do here is go to Order Promising, and the system will allow me to look at available to promise as well as capable to promise. We talk about this in greater detail when we're doing manufacturing and project accounting demonstrations, but this is effectively going to look at what is incoming on supply chain from my suppliers, whether it's a vendor or from my manufacturing floor, and it can also see how quickly I can source something based on lead times and other detail that I've provided for manufacturing if I do not have any on the horizon. So based on this, you're now going to be able to provide your customers with an accurate prediction of when you can get the goods to them. So I think a lot of times companies struggle with this issue. Salespeople may promise something to a customer without necessarily making sure that that is indeed possible. You can also allocate inventory, so you're going to be able to take a particular item, and if you have that in stock or in a PO, you can reserve that. So you're able to go to Manage, I'm going to go to Lines and say Reservation, and be able to create a reservation against something that's available in inventory or incoming on some sort of supply order. We have a lot of workflow that we can have at this point, either workflow that requires approval by dollar amounts exceeding credit memos, exceeding the credit limit or overdue balances, or just a general requirement for approval of any sales order. If this were an assembly, you could also have triggered an assembly process right from here. Now, in larger demonstrations around manufacturing and supply chain, we talk about warehousing processes. But in the interest of time, what I want to say here at this level is Dynamics Nav can accommodate any type of warehouse you've got today. We've got clients who do every step imaginable in warehouse, from one person creating a quote, one person then managing the order, approval is received, that is then released to the warehouse for creating all the shipping documents. There's also a picking process where one or more people may either pick by order or have another optimized method of picking. And finally, that order is shipped out, freight is applied, and then it goes to accounting for invoicing. And we've got clients who've got two people. One person is responsible for creating the order and pushing a button to ship, grabbing and picking everything, and then the next person is responsible for invoicing. Or even the person creating the order is capable of invoicing themselves. So depending on your business rules and requirements, we can set up the workflow in Dynamics Nav to capture all the steps that you're doing, so you have detail and visibility every step of the way, or it can be simplified. And if you start with a simplified setup, you can always extend that workflow out to include the additional steps as you grow and hire more people. From here, what I'm going to do is move away from sales and customer relationship management and talk a little bit about inventory management in Dynamics Nav, and this is going to be a short discussion around it. With Dynamics Nav, when I'm looking at any part or any item card, I'm going to pull one manufactured part. The last couple of times I've been looking at parts that were actually just buy to sell. Excuse me. If I create some notes or notifications, I'm able to view that here. If I have any links, I'm able to add product links, etc., maybe to the manufacturer's site or some reference information about the part. You can have all sorts of information about this item as well. By default, the ribbons are collapsed, but you can see I've got things from various units of measures, item substitutes, pictures, cross-references, so what does my vendor call something, or my customer call something, or what is a UPC code? I can have all of that available as well. And as I'm doing my processes, I can easily manage item adjustments right from my item card, or run my my physical inventory or periodic counts, etc. When I'm looking at my item history or availability, or want to look at what I have by a particular date or by a particular location, I can do all of those. So just click on Navigate. I can see items by location or item availability by period, by bill of material level, by timeline, etc. Dynamics Nav is a perpetual inventory management system. So what that means to you is, from the day you go live on Dynamics Nav and you start entering transactions, you're going to be able to get an accurate history of how much you had in inventory and what the demand was and how much supply was expected at any point in time. So this is going to be very powerful. You'll be able to see historical information about inventory usage. Also, visual timelines are going to be very helpful as you look to Dynamics Nav to identify. I think this was a product that didn't have a lot of history, but you're going to be able to use the visual timeline to see what you have in stock, what the demand is, and what planned replenishment suggestions are going to mean to you in terms of inventory level. Anything that you see in here in blue are things that I can click on. Quantity on hand is 32. Let's click here and you can see how we get to the 32 pieces. And so I see that this has two outputs, which basically means this is a manufactured product. One of 5 pieces and another one of 27 pieces. My demonstration year is 2018, so this is why you're seeing a lot of these future dated entries. Anything that is serialized or lot tracked, we'd be able to drill down and see that detail as well. If I want to see all cost-related information, if I'm an accountant, I can always just go to my value entries and I'd be able to see greater detail on expected costs. So these are all expected costs. These production orders haven't been finalized yet, so they haven't actually been booked, so they're still being held in WIP. But when we do manufacturing demos, we show you how, as we go through the process, we're able to see consumption of material and labor go into WIP, and then finally, if you complete this entire thing, it gets reversed out of my my expected accounts into my proper inventory accounts. Scrolling down a little bit, just a couple of things that I want to point out. You do have the ability to have different units of measures and define those units of measures as a default for selling, a default for buying, etc. I can also set how I want to replenish my inventory. So this is where I tell the system whether I build or buy something or kit it. And once I've selected the appropriate option, I can then tell the system who I buy it from or how I build it, to stock or to order, what my bill of material is, what my routing is, etc. Or if I kit it, some detail around that. And once I've told the system how, next thing I need to do is tell it when I need to buy or build. So I can select from a variety of options, and this is quite powerful as well, either demand-based like order, which looks at every instance of demand, or it could be more, it could be more economic quantity based is the word I was looking for. So fixed reorder quantities or maximum quantities. If you're a multi-site company with a lot of warehouse locations, you're going to be able to do something that allows you to hub and spoke or set up a hub and spoke ordering mechanism. So there's one centralized warehouse location that buys from your vendors and everybody else replenished through that centralized hub. Anything that is serial or lot tracked, you're able to define those as well. You would select from an appropriate item tracking code, tell the system whether you set your lot numbers or your vendors provides the lot numbers for you. If you set the lot numbers, are you just going to type them in, or do they follow some sort of logical sequence, alphanumeric? If this is an expiring product, you can also set expiration date calculations, and the system is fully capable of first expiring, first out, so you're able to then make sure that your oldest product is going out the door first. And from a costing perspective, I didn't spend a lot of time around that. Dynamics Nav supports the most common costing methods that people expect. It's fully GAAP compliant, so moving averages, FIFO, LIFO, standard cost, etc. All of these, and specific costs as well. They're all covered and manageable within the system. So my last topic, before I go to Q&A, is around purchase order management. So for purchasing, what we're able to do is either use manual creation of purchase orders, or you can use replenishment determined by Dynamics Nav. Determination of replenishment or suggestions for replenishment are made through what's called either the planning worksheet, great for people who have dependent and independent demanded inventory, especially true in manufacturers. So you may have top-level items and then you have your sub-assemblies. You can also just do what's called a requisition worksheet, and requisition worksheet is great for people who simply buy and only ever have direct demand. So as you run the system, you'll find from time to time you can either automate this process or you might run this manually. You calculate your plan and the system will then find for you everything that is needed between certain dates in certain warehouse locations if you've got if you want to limit that run, and any other filters that you set, and it will make recommendations to buy or sell the things that are needed. So if I wanted to quickly run this, let's just say 010118 to 123118, and notice how I don't need to put my slashes. So I'm just going to say find everything that I need for the blue warehouse, and the system's going to find and tell me everything that it needs. Now it is possible that I may not have anything that's required for the blue warehouse. Sometimes when I do a demonstration I may have actually converted most of this information over already. I'll give it a quick few seconds. If it comes up with any recommendations, those recommendations can be acted upon. I think I did not have anything within that period. I'm just going to give me once. Do this one more time with the larger date filter. And if I don't get any results, I'll actually move on. Yep, there you go. So over here I can see that there are some replenishment suggestions for my different warehouse locations. I just didn't have any for blue. I've got some new, I've got some change quantity, cancellations. So not only would Dynamics Nav suggest new POs to you, if there's something that's changed on the demand side, or parameters for replenishment have been changed, Dynamics Nav can also suggest that your purchase order quantities or your manufacturing order quantities be changed. If my customer cancels, it can also cancel. You can also train the system so that if a customer suddenly wants a part 6 months from now, instead of buying the product today, you can cancel this order and create a new PO for the time that they actually need the product. And it's very flexible in how you can set it up. But I'm going to take all of these recommendations and I can very quickly and easily convert them into purchase orders. So I just say carry out action message, and here the system will be able to create the POs as well as print any orders that are needed. And once those POs are created, I can then go and act upon them. So I'm going to go ahead and just jump to my purchase order screen. And we'll pick one of my open purchase orders. And much of what I see here is going to be a lot like my sales orders, right? So just the opposite of my sales orders, if you will, in that I've got my vendor information, I've got the same representation of the item that I'm about to buy, details about invoicing from my vendor, my terms, etc., which warehouse I'll be receiving these goods in. If my vendor has promised a receipt date, I can put that in the system, and the system will also calculate my expected receipt dates. One thing I want to point out here is the system is very capable of tracking lead times for vendors at a general level, as well as lead times for specific items by vendors. I can also have price lists from vendors that are imported in the system, and these price lists can have quantity discounts. The same is true on the sales side. Special discounts, special pricing for customers at different levels, these are all possible. So I've got everything that I need here. If I need to, I do need to put in a particular price, or sorry, the cost that my vendor is going to charge me. If I had previously bought from this vendor or had a vendor price list imported, it would have automatically put in the appropriate amount. But here I need to type this in manually. Just like I did for my sales order, I can send a PO out to my vendor. I can also receive this in from directly the PO, or if I have a larger number of employees and I've got a fully broken down workflow, this could go through an approval. The approved document then creates a requisite receipt document. Things will be received. There could be some quality control that takes place. upon completion of quality control, it would create the requisite warehouse documents so that it gets moved from your receiving area into your stocking bins. So Dynamics NAV can be as simple or as elaborate in tracking the different steps that go from the PO to having the inventory in hand. We're able to create drop shipments as well, as you see up here, and special orders. So if you are having your vendor fulfill directly to your customer, the system is capable of requesting that and then tracking when your vendor has sent it out. So with that, I'm looking at the time. We've got about 8 minutes, so I'm going to pause my demonstration. I'm going to stop my demonstration right here. I think what I'd like to do is just open up the floor for questions and answers. And if you have anything that we're not able to answer right now, I would be happy to answer that in greater detail, either by email or one-on-one. So, Michael, if you are still there, are there any questions that have come in?
We have not had any yet, but we can give a quick moment in case anyone has anything stored up.
Okay, thank you. So I think what I'll talk about, if there are no questions, this is something I did not have a chance to show earlier today. Our Dynamics NAV team and the experience that we can provide to you. We have a large team of Dynamics NAV consultants who have been working with this product for a long time. Myself, I've been doing this for about 9.5 years, but I've got teammates who've been doing this for 14, 15 or longer, or more years. We've got a lot of project management expertise as well, and we have a lot of certifications from Microsoft, and we are currently facilitating the creation of certification exams for independent bodies like the Association of Dynamics Professionals. In specific areas like SOX compliance, cost accounting, fund accounting, payroll management, you'll find that we've got extensive experience, as well as around technology, SQL Server management, development of custom code outside of Dynamics NAV as well, and network management. We're able to provide you services there.
And we did get one question that came in. Can you give an example of an assembly build?
So an assembly build for us is going to be something that is basically a kit with its own little bill of material. I can either build that to stock, so it could be something as simple as a product that I sell that must be put in a box alongside some special packaging instructions and a couple of maybe replacement components, a couple of extra heads if you're in the industrial equipment manufacturing world, and you can package that. And if you're building and you put that on the shelf, then that's an assembly to stock, and there's a process in Dynamics NAV that allows us to create it. If you are building it on the fly, when you create a sales order, it will know to ask you to build that. You can track the cost of labor and cost of material, but where it differs from manufacturing is that you won't need to go through any elaborate routing processes. You can certainly have some instructions, but you don't have to put it through work centers and schedule these at, across multiple days and weeks. And you can also unassemble anything. If you've built a box or kit and then you need to open that kit up and grab something out of it, you're capable of doing that.
Great, thank you. Another one we had is how much end-user customization is available and is it easy?
Good question. So you can customize various aspects of the system all by yourself. Adding new fields, that's something you can do. It's very easy to learn how to do. Personalizing your environment. Today you saw various screens and layouts, anything from hiding fields, moving things up and down, adding components, and personalizing that entire experience is something you can do yourself as well. Creating custom imports and exports within the system you're able to do, and a complete report modification, writing new reports from scratch as well as modifying existing reports you're able to do. As an end customer, where you're limited is if you're trying to modify functionality created by Microsoft. With your standard customer license, you're not able to do that. And if you want to create an entire module, for example, if you wanted to write just thinking out loud, a rental module or something around, leasing management, there are add-ons that are certified for that vertical, but just bear with me with that example. For that, you wouldn't be able to do with your default customer license. However, you have the ability to purchase that license from Microsoft, so you can then develop at the same level that we as partners do.
Perfect. And another one that came in is, how does it handle very discrete manufacturing, such as a pump that has casing that has 20 different impellers and 10 different shaft types and 10 different motors that can all be interchanged depending on the needs of the customer?
Good question. So with Dynamics Nav, we do it a couple of different ways. If the determination is being made at the time of manufacturing based on product availability, that is completely doable right within Dynamics Nav. We have flexible bill of material and routing. But what I think you're alluding to here is parametric configuration, where the customer drives the process. You're building something and the customer says, I want this component from a selection of 5 or 6 possible components in this particular manufacturing or the product that I'm ordering. If that's what you're looking for, parametric configuration is one of the areas where Dynamics Nav has multiple certified add-ons, and depending on whether you allow the customer to drive the process using a web portal or you have somebody taking an order and then entering that in the system, we can offer the right type of solution for you. But that would feed all the way down to Dynamics Nav, create that manufacturing order, and leave behind a history of what was created. So anytime the customer needs to reorder, we're able to provide that.
Great, yeah, thank you for that answer. And we have not had any more questions submitted right now.
All right. I think I saw one that we probably didn't talk about. It was around security. I see actually the question was about security from a webinar yesterday. I think that was for a different Dynamics product. But I will touch on security in general. That Dynamics Nav has a very robust security module. You can allow people to or limit people to just reading data or just writing data, modifying data, prevent them from deleting data on certain tables and screens, and you're able to create record-based security. So if you have an employee portal, for example, a user can only see their own employee record and not somebody else's. So it's very robust. You have a lot of examples within the system, and then using some great add-ons, they've also simplified what could be a very powerful tool. So you can then add field level security and so on without really undergoing too much training around security management. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up the last slide, which is my email address and our company's website address. I thank you very much for your time. I want to be respectful of everybody's stop time.